This is the Energy Makers Show, featuring the innovators, financiers, and policymakers focused on the global energy demand. Brought to you by NRG, moving clean energy forward. And here's your host, Paul Dickerson.
Hi, I'm Paul Dickerson. Welcome to another episode of the Energy Makers Show. Today, something different. Russ Capper on the road, literally on the road between Columbus and Grange, Texas. His guest, Dan Bretch, founder and creator of the Industrial Country Market, a retail business operating completely off the grid. All that right after this.
Hi, I'm Russ Capper, and welcome to the Energy Makers Show. This is an on-the-road segment. I'm out at Highway 71 between Columbus and Grange, Texas. I'm at the Industrial Country Market, and this is an extraordinary experience. This is a real-world application of living and operating a retail business completely off the grid. And my guest is the founder, owner, and creator, Dan Bretch. Dan, welcome to the Energy Maker Show.
Why, thank you, Russ. I really appreciate you coming out and putting the effort into it.
You bet. Tell us about the Industrial Country Market.
Well, we have a retail store that's totally off the grid. And what that technically means is we have no power to the local power company. We generate all of our energy ourselves. The majority of the energy is produced by the sun. We do have a diesel generator that works off of peanut oil out of Houston, a Chick-fil-A store, when it gets cloudy. But almost everything comes directly from the sun.
Well, this is significant. We're going to go inside in a little bit and show you that this is not only a retail operation, but a fairly high volume. You have some neat products, and you have a lot of customers that seem to come here just as much for the store as they do from the uniqueness of the energy source.
Yes, sir. Yeah. The energy source, we've broken it down into 4 separate units. One of the units out here is a tracking array. This group out here actually moves. It moves every hour. I've got a little timer on it, and it kind of follows the sun across the sky. We have a unit in the back there that's used as a walkway cover to show people that they can use the solar panels as a walkway cover, and that will allow the energy to be absorbed that way. We also have these units. They've got 2 other units out here for more energy, and they are on what are called seasonal mounts, which means in the spring and in the fall, we move them to where the sun when it falls down in the sky or rises.
And if I ran an audit out here, I would find no electric power coming in here from the grid.
There's no from the grid. And it's not that I'm mad at the power companies at all. It's just that in the long run, this makes more financial sense. I mean, it helps the environment without a question. But if you look at a solar panel like this array has probably a 25-year warranty. It's going to last probably 40 to 50 years. I'm 65. Do your numbers. I'm not going to be around. So you can see that your return on your investment on this, since we did most of the work ourselves, or almost all of it, our return is about 8 years. So in 8 years, you go to what's called a simple, you get your money back. But in reality, it's much faster than that, because if you look at the economic situation today, it just really does.
Well, I got to question this. What motivated the idea to do this? I mean, have you always been interested in solar energy?
I've been in electronics since 1958, so I've been very interested in the whole thing. And with my electronics store in Houston, people kept asking me practical applications of these solar panels. And I always like John Dewey, figure it out yourself and figure it out. So we built a house off the grid in 2000, and it works, and it's a 2,000 square foot house. It has air conditioning in it, and our thought process as well, if the house can work, why can't we make a business work? And then therefore our return on our investment is faster because we're not paying for the energy.
Do you even know of another business that's operating like this?
Not that I'm aware of. I mean, there are businesses that supplement their power from the grid.
Right.
They'll have grid tie, but we're totally off the grid.
Right.
I mean, we have a battery backup that's about 200,000 watt hours of stored energy in our battery.
We're going to see that in a minute.
All right. And so all that material works real well for what we're doing here at this time.
Okay. And you're off the grid on the water grid too, right?
Right. Yeah. We collect rainwater with the 33,000 gallons of rainwater. And we use that for primarily for our greenhouse, where we're growing different type of vegetables. We have tomatoes and hydroponics. We're growing herbs with an NFT type of situation. That's a nutrient film technique. And we're also growing succulents in there as well.
All right. We'll have more on the Energy Makers show with Dan after this. We're going to go inside and demonstrate this is a real operating store.
Where will the energy come from to move us forward? From natural sources in abundant supply, or perhaps a man-made source? At NRG, we believe innovation will solve our energy needs. That's why NRG is moving away from fossil fuels towards wind, solar, and other sustainable technologies to power the smart grid, the electric car, and our clean energy future. We're using all of our energy to develop more of it.
This is the Energy Makers Show, brought to you by NRG, moving clean energy forward. And now, back to the Energy Makers Show.
Welcome back to the Energy Makers Show, continuing on at the Industrial Country Market with Dan Bretch. Now, Dan, we are inside, and this is clearly a store, right? Tell us about the store.
Yes, sir. This is a retail store that's off the grid, as we talked about before. We have a wide variety of products in here to supplement people out in the middle of the country. But being off the grid means that we have to really watch what we do with our energy. If you look up, we have these fans up in here. And these fans work off of the low voltage DC. This reduces the efficiency, it increases the efficiency because we don't have to go through inverters. Now the lights themselves are actually thrown out by Eckerd Drugs back in Houston. Thrown out. And they turned out, I was very lucky because they have electronic ballast in them, making them more energy efficient. They're called T8 bulbs. And of course nowadays that's a little bit old standard, but as times progress, we'll put LEDs in there. Mainly because being in Texas for energy, it's all about heat. Because those air conditioners on the wall over there, we have what are called mini split air conditioners. These are the DC inverter type. Very, very efficient. They work real well for our application. And we have a variety of them around the store, depending on the conditions of the temperature and the sun. The more sun out, the more we can turn on. So it's a real simple combination. So that's the energy considerations throughout here. And you see we've got them grouped from one side to the other on the fans to make things work well.
Now I know that you have this extensive background in electronics. In fact, there's a lot of electronics for sale here in the store that are very, very cool. But when it came to putting this together, and you mentioned the air conditioner units, I mean, did you just have a good feel what it would take, or were you making detailed scientific calculations?
No, what happens was that last summer, 2011, it got very, very hot. And we put the units on depending upon how much energy we needed to cool it down. And that's where it came up with.
Well, it's always stayed nice and cool. Well, I know a customer just walked in. You probably have to help him, but we're going to continue on in the energy storage area.
Sounds great. Let's go.
All right. We'll be back in a second with Dan Bretch at the Industrial Country Market.
The future is here. You can't see it. It's electric. At NRG, we're providing clean energy and now charging stations to make the electric car a reality. Kinda makes you want a boogie woogie, doesn't it? NRG, moving clean energy forward.
It's electric. This is the Energy Makers Show, brought to you by NRG, moving clean energy forward. And now, back to the Energy Makers Show.
All right, welcome back to the Energy Makers Show, continuing on with Dan Bretch here at the Industrial Country Market. Now, where you start doing the magic with all the energy you pull off the solar collectors.
Correct. What happens is outside, the panels are run through these conduits into these charge controllers. The charge controllers are devices that protect the batteries from being overcharged. There's 4 of them for the 4 large arrays outside. And with the 4 arrays during the summertime with sun the entire day without clouds, we produce about 100,000 watt hours. And the majority of it is consumed by the air conditioners, the lights, the fans, the computers and things that are there. We've put meters on here because I give classes out here to explain the solar energy. It comes into this 48-volt DC bus, which is a telephone company. Okay. And it goes to these inverters over here, which changes it from 110 to 220. Okay. Then it's routed throughout the property to make it all work.
Okay. Let's say it's not a sunny day. What happens? How many voltage?
How much power
can you pull in here?
If it's not a sunny day, the total output of this is around 4,000 watts rather than the 16,000 watts.
Okay.
And we use a supplemental generator that works off of peanut oil out of Chick-fil-A out of Houston.
Right. Really cool. Well, Dan, I really appreciate you doing this for the Energy Maker Show. We're always hungry for real-world application of this stuff.
It's actually a practical application of the energy we have today.
Right.
And the prices have come down so much, it makes it financially viable today.
Right, great. Well, I really appreciate you being with us on the Energy Maker Show.
I appreciate it.
All right. And that wraps up this episode of the Energy Maker Show. Heard nationwide on the radio and seen right here at TheEnergyMakers.com. I'm Russ Capper, and we'll see you again next week.